To edit an existing sketch is nice and simple as well. So for example, if I just have a simple line here, I can just tap to select my line. I notice it shows this blue highlighted color, and that's just indicating to me that it has been selected or is highlighted now. And now that I have this line selected, I can just drag, and that will just move my line wherever I'd please. Similarly, I can tap to select any endpoint and just drag to move my endpoint. For a circle, working in a very similar manner, I can tap to select my entire circle, and I can just drag to move or rearrange as I need. I can also tap the center point and move around as required. I also have a radius control point. I can tap and control this as well to increase or decrease the radius. For an arc, this works in just the same way as the circle, except I have the two endpoints of the arc. I can tap to select one of the endpoints and drag to change each individual endpoint. I also have this radius control point that will not only act as the radius control, but also the direction of the arc. So notice if it's on the right hand side of my arc here, my arc is coming in on the right. But if I move this over to the left hand side, notice the direction of my arc changes onto the left hand side. So I can switch this over either side and notice my arc direction changing. Let's now take a look at editing a finished or closed out sketch. So it works just in the same here. So I can select any line, for example, and drag to rearrange, resize, move around my sketch. Similarly, can select any point and drag to edit my sketch. One very helpful tip is the ability to double tap an entity to select all of those entities. So for example, if I double tap a point here, notice it grabbed all of my points. So now if I dragged, it would drag my entire sketch. Similarly with lines, if I would double tap on one of the lines, it's going to grab all of those lines, again, drag and move the entire sketch. So this can be very useful to select a whole bunch of entities all at once and edit as required. A few more useful sketch editing tools are trim and delete. So let's say, for example, I just drew a line through my sketch here, and I wanted to trim away any of the excess or any of the lines I didn't require. So I can just use the trim command, and I now can select any of the sketch segments to trim them off. So maybe these outer two portions, I just want to trim away, and then I can hit the check to finish that off. Similarly, maybe I decide I no longer need this line through the middle, so I can just select that and hit delete to delete that entity. Now that we've learned the basics of editing sketches, in the next few lessons, we're going to learn how to use constraints and dimensions to finish off and fully define our sketches.